Hello guys, my name is Khan, and in today's video I will show you guys that how you can import data in R. So for that I have already created one script file, but I will go step by step how you can import data from import data into R. Actually, I will show you guys how you can import data from CSV file, from Excel data, and from RDS and Stata. So at first I will open this R script file and I will show you guys that how you can import data in R. So this is my script file, but I will open this file into a separate window for more clarity, maximize it, and I will a bit zoom in for you guys this script file, so probably you will be able to see it more clearly now. So this is my script and this is my window, the main window of console. But suppose if I want to import CSV data into R, so what I can do, I can go here. I want to import a text-based data into R, so I will select this option. Then I will select my CSV data that I want to import into R. You cannot directly open this file to it, so you have to come into import dataset, then select this dataset or whatever CSV dataset you want to import, and then open it. And then I want the headings. Headings mean that my variable names considered as the variable names, and other things, the separator is automatically comma, but you can also select other separators, but for this file the separator is comma. And I will say import, so you can see that R have imported the CSV data into R. An important thing to note here is that I'm going to close this window. This window is showing us, it's a browsing window, is showing us what the data looks like. You can go with it, but if you can ideally you can remove it. If I want to view my data again, I can write here view CSV underscore data, and then I'll click it. You can view the data again, but currently I don't want to view it, that's why I close the window. But here you have to observe one thing, this R have run this thing. So what actually read.csv is doing, that this command is actually importing the data. This part of the command is actually importing the data of a CSV file into R. And then you have to observe this thing, that this arrow sign, which is actually a greater than and then negative sign, is assigning this whole data set to this object which is named as CSV underscore data. And this object is actually a table which is table as a data, which can you see here. And data is telling us that this data set have 74 observations, 12 variables. And if I want to see this data set within this console, what I can do, I can just simply write CSV underscore data. If I press enter, you can see that all the data here, it looks messy. That's why I'm just clearing the console by writing down by pressing Ctrl plus L. You can see that I have cleared the whole console. So I have copied that command that I've run here. I have put it here in my here. So this is the same command that I have just used to import CSV data into R. But because all of my data for this video is located in this folder, which is PC Hassan R video and then data import. So therefore I have created a working directory. Working directory means that for this R code all of my files will be placed in that folder, or if I'm even importing anything or exporting anything, will come and go in this folder. So I'm setting this working directory, and then I imported my CSV data into R. But here you can see that I have written down the file path again. So suppose if I execute this control code till line number 9, control shift home and control enter, and if I go back to my result window, the code is still working, but I have already told R that all of my data are located in this folder. Then there is no need to write this file path. So now if I delete this file path and just giving the file name, R will automatically realize that I have to go to this folder to get this data, and I have already placed this data set in that folder. So if I say control shift home and then control enter to execute the code, well, hopefully I will not get any error. So as you can see that I have executed the code second time and I haven't get an error, because R successfully able to import this CSV data into R. So this is a good thing to realize, that you can set working directly, and then you can get rid of writing down your folder path again and again. So, and after that I'm going to say so in the second example, so suppose if you're importing your data set, and if I come here and if I click this arrow, you can see that I have different variable names that I have that in the data set. Suppose if I only want to have make and price from my CSV data, I don't want other variables while importing, then what you can do, then you can go to your code file. What I have done is that I have used the same command till here, but after that I have used these two brackets. This, if you guys note down that I have bracket, then I have comma. So before that you can also write down, you can select this part is where you can select the rows that if you want to see from the data. I will show you guys that how you can do that too. But after C, I'm specifying that I only like to see two variables data, make and rep78. Rep78 is the variable name with the data, and I'm assigning all this import dataset into a second dataset, and this second CSV data 2 will having only two variables and 78 observations hopefully. And I will say control shift and then enter. As if I this, now you can see that I have two datasets, CSV data and CSV data 2. This is the second import that I have done, but just with the two variables, as you can see here too. And here we have, I can also view this CSV data for you too. CSV underscore data 2. As you can see that there are only two variables in this CSV2 dataset. Now if I go back, so suppose if I want to just these two variables and I just want to import the first 20 observations, then what I can do, I will have just used the above command. I have used data 3, I'm calling it data 3, and here suppose if I want to import only the first 20 observations, so I can write sequence 1, 20 by, so I'm saying that this series actually sequence will create a vector from 1 till 20, and the increment in that vector will be by 1, so the vector will be like 1 2 3 4 then 20. So and then by 1, if I say control enter again, you can see that I have now CSV data 3. The important thing to note here is that just 20 observation, not 74 observation, with 2 variables. Again, I will try to show, suppose in console, if I like to show that what sequence function have done for us, 120, and then I'm saying y is equal to 1. If I press enter, you can see that R have created this vector for us. So now I will show you guys that how you can import data from Excel. So in order to import data from Excel, again this is a very useful tab from where you can import different data sets. So I will say import from Excel, and then I will browse my dataset first. This is the Excel dataset that I want to import into R, and then I'll say open. And here, make sure that you have selected that if you want to select the first rows as the name, as the variable names. And important thing to here is that here's R is saying that they will need a library read Excel for this thing. I will let you know what does library means. But for here, I will just, everything is according to what I need. I will just import, and you can see that I have, and this is the view window of the Excel dataset. I don't want to view it as almost the same dataset but in a different data format. So actually this command is actually read Excel. This part of the command is actually importing the data into R, and then I'm assigning that data into an object named as Excel underscore data, and this object is a data frame, which you can see here. So I will go back. I have already copy paste this command here that I imported. But what does it mean by library? So library means that we need a package to load first in R to call read Excel function. If you note down here, we are using this function to call this XLS into R. But in order to use this function, you have to load a package which contains this function, and this package is actually read Excel. So not all the functions are already uploaded to your R. So sometimes you have to call different packages first so that you will be able to use the functions within that package. So actually I want to use this read underscore Excel function, and this functions belong to this package which is the read Excel. So that's why I wrote down this library Excel. Otherwise, if I don't use my call the library, the R will give you an error that the R unable to find this read underscore Excel function. And now in the second example, I will show you guys that suppose if you want to select the first 4 variables. So I am writing down the same command. It's just importing the data from Excel into R, and then this part of the code is saying if I am not mentioning any rows, as I have mentioned here to call just the 20 observation. If I am not mentioning any number here, it's mean that all the observations will get imported, and the second part of the call after the comma will let R to decide which columns you want to select. If I don't specify this thing at all, stat R will import all the rows, all the variables. But if I specify, so I'm here after the comma, I'm specifying how many number of variables you want to import. So I want to import the first, second, third and fourth variable. So I can simply Control Shift and then enter. And then as you can see that there are 4 variables that I have selected, and this is make, price, MPG4. But these are the first 4. But suppose if you want to select the first 2 and then the 5th and 6th variable, then you don't have to be worried. So you can easily do the same thing. If I copy the same command again and I call it data object 3, and suppose as I said that I want first 2 and then 5th and 6th column, then I will say 6th, then I will say enter. Now if I show you guys here, the first variable is make, price, headroom and trunk, whereas here make, price, MPG, RP78, and here if I go to my main dataset, I'll go to, so you can see the first is make, price, third, fourth and 5th is headroom, and then 6th is trunk. And here you can see the 5th is headroom, the headroom and the trunk. So you can easily select different variables while importing the data if you don't need the whole data to be imported into your R. So now another thing, now I will show you guys that how you can import data into R if the data is in Stata format. So I will go to from Stata, so I will browse and then I will select the data Stata format, data which is in the .dta format, you can see, and I will say open, and then everything is according to the, I don't need to opt anything, but here you can see that we need this library HAV in heaven in order to import data from Stata to R. So I will say import, and this is the data that, as you can see, Stata data. I assign that data to an object named as the data object named as Stata data, and this is the viewer of that data. So I will just close it. So if I go back to my code now, so here again we need, so in order to use this function read underscore data, we need to have this package which is the heaven. Otherwise if you don't use it, call it library heaven, Stata will unable to recognize which function you want to use, unable to recognize what is this function, because this function belong to this package. So now I will show you guys that suppose if you guys want to know how many rows or how many columns do you have in data, so for that you can use a very useful function, and number of, which is NRO, and which is for number of rows. Suppose if I want to know for this data, I will say Stata data, and if I press enter, you can see the Stata have told me that this dataset have 74 rows, and I can also assign this number of rows to, so suppose some scalar like call it B is equal to this. So again, so if you have guys noticed that I have used the equal sign. If I have used this sign, the greater sign, the negative sign, which makes an arrow kind of thing, and then if I press number of rows, both are, if I call B now, B is equal to 74 too. So both equality and this sign is doing the same thing. This sign is more a bit more explicit, that it's kind of an error showing that this value will be assigned to this scalar B. And as you guys also note that as I've assigned I have made a new scalar, R is showing me here. In the same way, suppose if you want to know what are the number of columns in the data, you can again do the same thing by writing down n-c-o-l and then suppose data again, press. So R is telling me that there are 12 columns or 12 variables in this data set. And suppose sometimes when we are coding, we want to know what are the names of these variables, not just the number of those variables. So if I want to know the actual names of these the variables, so suppose if I say if I write down names, and suppose if I want to know the names of this CSV underscore data, so underscore data, so if I press that, so R is showing me all the names of this CSV data in a vector form. So, and I can assign that vector to suppose a vector that I've created, suppose data, so var variable names, and then I would say is equal to sign, then I call this thing copy, then paste it here. So you can see that R have created a vector vector is actually a string vector which is having 12 objects in it. Make price, as you can see it here, and if I copy it and then press it back, it will print me all the variable names here. Actually, this thing is very important sometimes when you are working in R and you want to put variable names in a loop or want to do some coding over it. So sometimes we need this function. And in the last, I will show you guys that if you want to import RDS data into R, actually RDS is our own data format. So one thing is to just read RDS. You don't need any library for this thing. So you just have to enter this thing, and then I am assigning it to an object named as RDS data. So if I enter, so you can see that I have RDS data now with 74 observation, 12 variable. But another way to upload RDS data into R is just that if I go to my folder, this is actually my RDS data. If I just enter it, the Stata is saying that which you want to assign this data into a R object, and I'm saying okay, assign it to RDS data 2. I'm just changing the name. So as you can see that now R have uploaded it into this environment with the name of RDS data 2. So you can use this command, or you can just go directly and open the RDS data file, because RDS is our own data format, so there is no issue by directly opening it too. So this is a short overview of how you can import different data formats into R. There are so many other data formats that you can import into R too, but I have given you the overview of most of the data sets of the data types that mostly you will be using, which is CSV, Excel, Stata, RDS format. Thank you for watching the